Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. It started 3 nights ago, and now I can't tell where the nightmare ends and I begin. I live alone on the 3rd floor of a tired old apartment building that smells like dust and forgotten memories. No roommates, no pets, just me, a laptop, a small kitchen, and a bed that creaks every time I breathe too hard. The first night, I was half asleep, drifting between a dream I can't remember and the dry tick of my ceiling fan. Then, knock, knock, knock. 3 soft taps of the front door. Not hard, not rushed. Just calm, measured, like whoever was on the other side had all the time in the world. I blinked at the clock. 3:17 a.m. For a second, I actually thought I imagined it. But then it came again. Tap, tap, tap. Every hair on my arm stood up. My heart stuttered. I didn't move, didn't even breathe. Just lay there staring at the door, the darkness pressing in around me like it wanted something. Eventually, the knocking stopped. The second night, I was ready. I stayed up, lights off, phone in hand, eyes burning from too much caffeine and not enough sleep. I kept glancing at the clock like it was counting down to something awful. And sure enough, at 3:17 a.m., it came again. Tap, tap, tap. I moved slowly this time, crept toward the door, bare feet silent on cold tile. I looked through the peephole. No one, just the dim hallway, the walls yellowed with age, and a flickering ceiling light that buzzed like a dying fly. But I swear, I saw something shift in the corner of my eye. Just a ripple, like the air was different around the door. Thicker. Still, no one visible. I stayed up the rest of the night with every lamp in the apartment turned on. I told myself it was a prank. A neighbor. Maybe a drunk who had the wrong door. But the knocks had been too calm. Too deliberate. It didn't feel like a mistake. It felt like a ritual. Night 3 was when I knew something was really wrong. The knock came, just like before, 3:17 on the dot. This time, I didn't go straight to the peephole. I waited, listened. Tap, tap, tap. I walked to the door slowly, phone ready in my hand. I was going to record it. Evidence. Something to show the cops, even if they just laughed. I pressed my eye to the peephole. Again, no one. But then, just as I was about to turn away, I saw a shadow move. A sliver of something black, like someone had walked right past my door. But the hallway was empty, dead empty. And then I heard it. A whisper, not muffled, not distant. It was like someone had pressed their lips to the wood and spoken directly into the door. You're almost ready. My stomach dropped so fast I thought I'd vomit. Almost ready? For what? I didn't sleep. Couldn't. I kept every light on again and sat in the corner of my living room with my back to the wall, gripping a kitchen knife like it would help. I tried to tell myself it was a hallucination, sleep deprivation, something logical, but I knew it wasn't. Deep down, I knew this thing, whatever it was real, and it was getting closer. Now it's night 4, and it's 3:12 a.m. I'm writing this because I don't know what else to do. I don't have anyone to call. No family. No friends in the city. I moved here to start over, thinking maybe loneliness was better than the chaos I left behind. I never imagined loneliness would come with a visitor. My apartment feels colder tonight. Not the air, something deeper, like the warmth of the world has bled out through the walls. And then I hear it. Tap, tap, tap. I stare at the door. I want to move. I don't want to move. But this time, the knocking doesn't stop. It just keeps going like a metronome. Not loud, just endless. Knock, knock, knock. Over and over and over. I edge closer to the door. My legs shake. I lift my phone again, but the screen flickers and goes black. Battery dead. I could have sworn it was fully charged. I press my ear to the door. Silence. Then the whisper returns. Not a voice this time. A feeling. It slides through the cracks, like smoke into my ears, wrapping around my thoughts. You're ready now. I step back. Something shifts inside me, like something just clicked into place, a gear turning, a lock undone. My hands start to tremble uncontrollably. My vision blurs. I'm sweating but freezing. I try to run. I really do. But my feet walk to the door on their own. My hand reaches for the knob. Something's pulling me. Not physically. Something worse. Like it's inside me, steering me like a puppet. I don't want to open the door. I don't want to. But my fingers are already turning the knob. The door opens a crack. Cold, black air rushes in. It smells like soil, like rot, like time. I see nothing, but I feel everything. The knocking stops. And then, finally, I see it. Not a person. Not exactly. A shape. Tall. Wrong. It has no face, but it smiles with the space between spaces. It's made of shadows that hum with ancient sounds, like funeral bells played backward. It reaches toward me. I try to scream, but my mouth doesn't work. My last thought before the darkness takes me is this. It wasn't knocking to come in. It was knocking to see if I was ready to go out. And now I'm gone. Or maybe I've just started knocking on someone else's door. Story 2. When you're 10 years old, your world is small. It's made of comic books and cereal, backyard swings and monsters that live in the closet. And for me, back in the winter of '98, it also included something else. Something under the bed. I haven't told many people this story. Not because I'm scared they won't believe me. I know they won't. That's a given. I don't tell it because every time I say the words out loud, I feel watched. Like whatever was in that room might still be listening. But here I am. And here's the story. I was 10 years old, living in a small town in Maine, in a one-story house with crooked floors and doors that never quite closed all the way. My room was at the end of the hall, right across from the bathroom, and I had this rickety twin bed with drawers underneath that always jammed if you pulled them too hard. That night, I'd had too much soda, too much TV, and way too much time staring at the dark knot in my ceiling that looked like a screaming face. It was one of those nights where you feel like your bed sheets are too tight, like your skin is itchy for no reason, like your brain won't shut off. So I lay there, eyes wide, staring up at the dark when I heard it. A voice. It didn't come from the hallway. It didn't come from the vent. It came from under the bed. It was raspy, like sandpaper on stone, low and hushed, and just inches beneath me. I felt the vibration of it more than I actually heard it. Don't move, it said. If you move, it'll know you're awake. I froze. Every muscle in my body locked. Even my breathing stopped. I didn't know what it meant. Who was it? And what did it want? But I didn't ask. I didn't dare. I just lay there, heart pounding so hard I thought it would shake the bed. I stared up at the ceiling, mouth dry, the darkness pressing and like a wool blanket pulled tight over my face. Then I heard it, not the voice, something else. A dragging sound, like a heavy sack being pulled across wood. It started in the far corner of the room, near my toy chest, and slowly made its way toward my bed. The voice came again. It's closer now. Whatever you do, don't blink. I didn't blink. I didn't move a single muscle, not even when tears started rolling down the sides of my face. I lay there, paralyzed, trying to breathe without making a sound. The dragging stopped. I don't know how long I stayed like that. Time felt broken. Maybe minutes. Maybe hours. At some point, the light outside the window shifted. Dawn. The room began to brighten, the darkness retreating like a guilty man slipping out the back door. When the sun was fully up, I finally moved. I rolled over and looked under the bed. There was nothing there. No voice. No shadows. No sign of anything but a couple dust bunnies and an old sock. I told my parents at breakfast, and they smiled like parents do when they think their kid's imagination is running wild. My dad even made a joke, something about laying off the late-night cartoons. But the next night, at exactly 2:03 a.m., it happened again. I remember the time clearly because I'd started watching the digital clock on my nightstand like my life depended on it. And maybe it did. Don't move, the voice said, the exact same tone as the night before. If you move, it'll know you're awake. And again, the dragging started. For the next month, it became a routine. Every night at 2:03 a.m., I'd hear the voice. Every night, I'd lie there frozen, unable to sleep, unable to speak. I never saw it, whatever it was, and the voice never explained more than what it already had. Just the same warning, over and over. And I followed it, because something deep in my bones told me that if I didn't, I'd never see the morning light again. Eventually, I got desperate. I begged my parents to let me sleep in their room, and for a few nights, they let me. Nothing happened those nights. No voice, no dragging. But the minute I returned to my room, it came back. 2:03 a.m. Like clockwork. Then came the last night. I knew something was different as soon as I opened my eyes and saw the clock. 2:03 a.m. But this time, the voice didn't come first. It was the sound, the dragging. Only this time, it was louder, closer. It didn't start in the corner. It started right under my bed. I could hear it breathing. Then, finally, the voice. But it didn't whisper this time. It sounded strained, weak, afraid. Tonight, I won't be able to stop it. My blood turned to ice. What did that mean? Stop what? I clenched my eyes shut, my fists too. I kept as still as I could, heart banging against my ribs like a hammer on glass. Something touched my mattress, lightly, a press, just a fingertip maybe, then it slid off, then silence, and then nothing, nothing at all. That was the last time I heard the voice. After that night, my room was quiet. No more warnings. No more dragging. But it didn't feel like a victory. Because sometimes, when I wake up in the middle of the night, not at 2:03, but later, like 3:15 or 3:30, I feel watched. Not from under the bed, from the ceiling corner, or the edge of the closet. And I never hear anything. Not a whisper, not a breath. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I get this feeling like something is waiting for me to move, to blink, to make just one mistake. And I remember the voice. The way it sounded like it was trying to protect me. The way it warned me over and over. Sometimes I wonder what it was trying to stop, and I wonder if it failed. Story 3. There's something unnatural about mirrors when the lights are off. You ever catch your own reflection move when you didn't? It's usually nothing, of course. A twitch, a blink, a trick of the eyes. But sometimes it isn't. Sometimes what you see, just for a second, isn't you at all. That's how this started. A week ago, I saw a man in my mirror. A man that wasn't me. I live alone. No pets, no roommates. Just me in a modest two-bedroom apartment at the end of a narrow hallway that smells vaguely like paint thinner and old water. My bathroom sits right across from the only bedroom I use, and the mirror in there is cheap, mounted crooked above the sink, frame flaking, glass slightly warped. I noticed the man by accident. I had just brushed my teeth, turned the light off, and was walking past the open bathroom door toward my room when I caught something in the mirror, something standing behind me. I stopped cold. Goosebumps pricked my arms like needles. I turned and looked. Nothing. Just the usual shadows cast by the weak hallway bulb. I told myself it was a trick of the eye. I laughed it off in that half-hearted, uneasy way you do when you're trying to convince yourself you're fine. But later that night, lying in bed with the bathroom door still cracked open, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I couldn't sleep. The next night, it happened again. I caught him in the mirror, just for a flash. A man, middle-aged, pale skin like candle wax, short, dark hair combed flat, thin lips, deep-set eyes like dark pits in his face. He wore a black suit, the kind you see on a body at a funeral. But by the time I spun around, he was gone. I kept the lights on that night. You might ask why I didn't close the door, or cover the mirror, or sleep on the couch. Hell, I asked myself the same thing. But there's this weird part of the brain, curiosity mixed with fear, that makes you want to see it again just to prove it was real, or maybe to prove it wasn't. The third night, I waited. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror in the dark. No lights, just the dim hallway bulb casting a yellow haze. I stared at my reflection, trying not to blink. And then he came back. Not behind me this time. Not in the shadows. In the mirror. He was looking at me, eyes locked onto mine, like he'd been waiting for me to notice him properly. And then he smiled. It was slow and sick. The kind of smile you see on someone who knows something you don't. The kind that doesn't touch the eyes, just stretches across the face like skin splitting. I turn around fast, my heart hammering in my chest. No one. But when I looked back at the mirror, he was closer. No more hallway. No background. Just his face filling the glass. I backed away. I don't know how long I stood in the hall, staring at my own reflection with my breath caught in my throat. But eventually I stumbled to bed and didn't turn off the light. That night, I dreamed about him. In the dream, I was brushing my teeth, and when I looked up, his hands came through the mirror. Not out of it, through it, like the glass wasn't even there. Cold fingers wrapped around my neck and pulled me toward the reflection. I woke up choking, heart going so fast it felt like it would burst. The next day, I covered the mirror with a white bed sheet, just to be safe. When I came back from work, the sheet was still there. I felt a little relief, like maybe that was the end of it. But when I woke up the next morning, the sheet was gone, folded, neatly, on the bathroom counter. My stomach dropped. It wasn't just gone, it had been handled. arranged. And in the mirror, there was a handprint, pressed from the inside. I didn't touch it. Couldn't. Just seeing it made me feel like I was being watched. I backed out of the room and shut the door. Locked it. Tried to forget. I haven't used that bathroom since. I brush my teeth at the kitchen sink. Shower at the gym. Friends think I'm weird, but I don't care. I've taped newspaper over the door. Try to seal off whatever it is that's in there. Or behind there. But the thing is, the sound keeps coming. Late at night, when everything else is still, I hear it. Scrape, scrape, long, slow fingernails dragging down glass. He's still there, waiting, smiling. And the worst part, the handprint changes position. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes lower, sometimes it's two prints. I don't think he's trapped in the mirror. I think he's almost out. And I don't know what happens when he finally is. I just know I'm not staying here to find out. Story 4. When you grow up in the city, you don't think about where people are buried. You assume it's all neat and proper. Cemeteries with names etched in stone, flowers left behind, prayers whispered. But in my grandparents' village, tucked far away from any sign of modern life, they bury their dead in their own backyards. It's tradition, they say. Practical. Quiet. I never questioned it. Until that summer. I just finished a messy breakup, a burnout-level job collapse, and the kind of heartbreak that makes you run, not walk, away from everything. So, I went to stay with my grandparents for a while, thinking the rural quiet would settle my mind. They were kind, warm people. The type who make you soup when you didn't ask and turn on the fan before you notice the heat. Their house sat on a hill, small and crooked, with wooden floors that groaned like they were holding secrets. My room was the old spare room upstairs, the one no one used anymore. It had a single bed, a writing desk, and one small window that looked out over the backyard. And the grave. They told me about it casually over dinner, like they were warning me not to step on a loose floorboard. Oh, and there's a grave outside your window, my grandfather said, slurping soup. My spoon paused midair. What? Just an old one, my grandmother added, not looking up. She's been there a long time. Family? I asked. They nodded at the same time, but not in unison. Something about it didn't sit right. Still, I didn't press. You don't, with elders like that. You nod and thank them and go to bed. That first night, I lay in the stiff bed and stared out the window. The grave was just a mound, no stone, only a small wooden marker, half rotted by time. A few flowers, dried and brittle, leaned like they wanted to fall over, but hadn't decided yet. Sometime around 3 a.m., I woke up. No thunder, no dream, just awake. And then I heard it. Whispers. Soft at first, like a breeze sneaking through a crack in the window. But then they grew louder. Still whispers, but urgent, like they were crawling up the wall. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. I sat up. My skin turned cold, even though the room was warm. I thought it was the wind. It had to be. That's what I told myself. But when I looked out the window, there was no wind. The trees stood still, and there was no one there. Just a grave. The next morning at breakfast, I told them. I tried to laugh it off, but my grandmother didn't laugh back. Her spoon trembled slightly. My grandfather stopped eating altogether. What did you hear? She asked quietly. Whispers. A woman's voice, saying I didn't know something. She didn't answer. She stood up and walked into the other room. My grandfather cleared his throat and looked at me in a way that made my blood drop a few degrees. She wasn't family, he said. What? The woman buried there. She wasn't ours. Then he told me. She was found on the road one winter, decades ago. Alone. Dead. No one came to claim her. The villagers didn't want to bury her in the cemetery. Some said she wasn't right, that her death wasn't clean, that she had brought something with her. But my grandmother believed the opposite. She said if no one took her in death, her soul would wander. So they buried her themselves, in the backyard, quietly. No one ever asked questions. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept the light on and watched the window like a guard tower. Midnight passed, then 1, then 2. At exactly 3:07 a.m., I heard the whispers again. But this time, they didn't wait outside. They were in the room, right next to me. He still doesn't know. You buried me, but not what I carried. He doesn't know. I couldn't move. My body had turned to stone, breath locked in my chest. Then I saw her. She was standing at the edge of the backyard, pale, dressed in white, like a hospital gown gone yellow with time. Her hair hung limp, soaked, though there was no rain, and her eyes were open too wide, like they'd forgotten how to blink. She was staring straight up at my window. I blinked, and she was gone. I left the next morning. Didn't even stay for breakfast. Hugged my grandmother and grandfather too tightly and told them I needed to go back to the city. They didn't ask why. I think they already knew. 3 days later, I got a call. It was my grandfather. His voice was hollow. "There's something you should know," he said. "There's another grave now, next to hers." "What do you mean?" "We don't know who did it," he said. "It just appeared this morning. Same size, same marker, but no one in town has died." We asked. We checked. "Did you dig it up?" There was silence. Then he whispered, "No." And that was the last time I heard from him. I tried to call again the next day. No answer. A week later, my aunt told me they left the house. Moved in with a cousin in another village. The old house sits empty now. But sometimes, just before I fall asleep, I hear the whisper again. From nowhere. He doesn't know, and I don't think I ever will.